Hello, my name is Cindy Davis. I serve as the current chairperson of the Synod Finance Committee, and also I'm honored to be an elected member of the Synod Council as the laywoman for the Eastern area. When I'm not volunteering in these capacities, I'm a CPA in public practice in Charleston, wife to Richard Davis, and the mother of a growing family of young adults, 3 of our own, a lovely daughter-in-law, and brand new to the family as of last Friday, a fine son-in-law. The Lutheran Church of the Redeemer in Charleston is my home congregation. Today, I'm here to explain the budget process and the timeline for that process to help you gain an understanding of how the Synod's proposed mission funding and spending plan gets to the Assembly for final approval. You may have noticed that the Synod Council has intentionally changed the name of the financial planning document known as the budget to the Mission Funding and Spending Plan. This is to better name the way the Synod uses God's gifts, mostly in the form of congregational mission support, to carry out the Synod's mission statement, equipping church leaders to develop impactful communities and disciples of Jesus. To make this short video less wordy, however, I will use the words budget and the spending plan to refer to this financial plan. The Synod's fiscal year ends on January 31st, not December 31st, like most churches and businesses. The Treasurer's report, which will be presented at the Assembly, will report the historical financial results of the fiscal year ended January 31st, 2025. We are already underway in the fiscal year which will end January 31st, 2026. This is the spending plan approved at last year's Assembly. The spending plan on which the Assembly will vote this year is for the fiscal year which begins February 1st, 2026 and ends on January 31st, 2027. These dates, which appear so far in the future, hopefully give you a sense of the estimations and assumptions that have to be used for building this proposed spending plan. The budget process begins in the fall. The Synod accountant, Charlene Fink, emails budget worksheets and financial materials to the contact persons in their specific ministry result area in early October. They are then asked to meet with their teams, review their missional goals, and submit their budget requests to her by the November 30th deadline. Additionally, the finance chair, the Synod accountant, bishop, and treasurer meet to prepare spending plan requests for certain line items that don't fall under a ministry result area. Examples are funding for Synod-supported institutions and agencies, and Synod office administrative overhead. This does not mean that these persons or the bishop determine the budgeted financial support for the institutions and agencies. These requests are merely suggestions in the first rough draft in an attempt to manage support and care across all the variety of ministries. Just like all other budget line item requests, these also will be vigorously discussed, debated, and in the end, prayerfully discerned in the next stages of the spending plan development. After all the initial line items are received by the deadline of November 30th, Charlene, the Synod accountant, enters these into the first draft of this proposed spending plan. She then sends this draft to the Finance Committee before Christmas. Having had ample time to review the draft, the Finance Committee meets in person at the Synod office on or around January 20th for prayerful discussion to create a balanced second draft to send to Synod Council. Synod Council receives this draft shortly after it's voted upon at that meeting, in time for review and preparation for the Synod Council vote at its meeting in February. I'm going to repeat the timeline so that you know the best time for all people of the Synod to ask questions and express wishes. November 30th, all ministry result area requests are due. Contact any Synod Council member or Charlene at the Synod office in early November if you have certain funding requests you would like to express. December, before Christmas, the first draft is sent to the Finance Committee members. January 20th, give or take a week, the Finance Committee meets to discuss and vote on the first draft and also, very important, to bring the budget into balance. Mid-February, the Synod Council meets to discuss and vote on the draft that you now receive for vote at the Synod Assembly. Any time between November and early January is the best time to reach out to Synod Council members with your questions and provide your input. It is welcomed. Just like congregational spending plans, the budget is a delicate balance to spread God's gifts among mission support for the greater church, the ministries of the South Carolina Synod, and the institutions and agencies we support throughout the year. Thank you so much for listening and for your interest in the Synod's mission, funding, and spending plan process.